What is quacking, everybody? So, the Splatoon World Series just happened over the weekend, and Japan blew the West out of the water completely. And a lot of top players have made some tweets and remarks. Gray made a doc, Volty made some tweets as well, Jared made a video, as long as some other people chiming in with their tweets and conversations in this whole thing. And I wanted to give my 2 cents on it and cover what was said about everything. The first thing I want to get right out of the way is because a lot of top players are the ones making these documents and talking about this, some people are like, oh, top player makes document that only applies to top player's gatekeeper, whatever. After reading everything, I feel like all of the stuff that people are reading, and if they're saying this is only applying to top players, I feel like this is a huge misinterpretation of it, as all of this stuff does apply to everybody else with Gray's doc, with, tweets and stuff like that. Everybody can, fix their mentality. Everybody can do things to improve and get better. So a lot of the things aren't really just focused at top players. It's more focused at everybody, the community. And if top players do just, they play this, they all just play each other and just, gatekeep whatever, what's stopping the rest of us as a community to just working together to get better? And then, if they're just stuck over there, then more people are going to get better in different ways and have a more broader range to get better and end up beating said top players. So there's that argument right there where people can just get better. Not everybody's stuck at the bottom. You only get better if you apply yourself to get better. So that's kind of the misinterpretation I've been seeing with this. Is like, this is very general, and people, if they want to get better, they will put in the effort to get better. Now, moving on to everything that was said in terms of the Gray document, I'm going to start off with that first. The first thing that Gray says and touches on is individuality. Limit tests, see how aggressive you can play and get away with it. Use JPX power as a benchmark for skill. NAXP is okay but less valuable. Play with more people and prioritize being better individual player. Don't be a system player and play with the same 3 people over and over. Pick your favorite weapons and master it to build confidence and skills, and watch VODs of other players of the same weapon. And I agree with everything that Gray says here. Basically, the X power thing is kind of varied because obviously people's internets are different. So if you're going to play JP, there's lag for certain people. Some people have McDonald's Wi-Fi, so they're not able to just play on the JP servers. So that does suck. But it's just more so focusing on what you can do as an individual. I feel like the term aggressive play is very broad because while yes, you can go out there and just keep running at people and trying to see what you can get away with flanks, aura checking people and skill checking people mid-game, stuff like that. I agree with that, but there's other things that you can do besides just being aggressive and getting kills. You can, let's say you lack objective issues, focus on the objective when you're playing and practicing with yourself. Focus on paint. I used to be a person who struggled with paint regardless of what weapon I played. Like, I would get low amounts of paint on shooters, and that's something I worked on a lot. I wasn't focused on kills, I wasn't focused on objective, I was focused on how much paint can I output. Did I lose games because of it? Yes, I did, because I'm focused on a skill that I need to get better at, because one of the main fundamentals of the game is painting. So you got to focus on the fundamentals that you're lacking. Like, do you suck at dealing with the objective? How can you be aggressive around the objective or defend the objective? How well can you paint? Like, different things like that besides just running up and killing people, because killing is just only part of the story. There's other factors in as well. Like, if you're the cooler player, how many coolers you're giving your teammate? Are your coolers aggressive coolers? Are you able to give your coolers to your teammates, or do you throw them so far back? There's so many variables that you can go over that pertain to that you can work on to improve, and that's something you should work on besides just trying to get kills all the time. Another thing is playing with the same 3 people over and over again. While I do agree with playing with different people is very good because you can learn a lot from playing with different people, different play styles, different weapons. You also do get value out of playing with the same team because you build that team synergy with people, and that's something I feel like is valuable as well. So I feel like you should have a support group of a core group of people to play with, on top of having, a variety of friends. You have some friends, they play Explo, they play Dynamo, they play Bamboo, those random weapons, go play with them too, but always have a dedicated group that you can play with, because it also comes down to team synergy. Because I can't tell you how many times I just do a pickup, and while yes, it is an individual issue where as a pickup we can't do much, it does suck when you finally start to get the gears rolling with random people people that you just slapped together to play a tournament, and you guys just like fumble because it's just like you don't know how each other's play, like you don't know what they're gonna do. But when you play with the same people for like 3, 4, 5 months, you know what they're gonna do, you know how to compensate for their weaknesses and their strengths, and you work together in tandem. And that's not something you can really get from playing with, you know, a quick pickup. But if you have like a group of friends who play different weapons and doing that stuff, you can definitely get a lot of value out of that as well. Another huge thing that Gray touches on is picking a weapon that you enjoy playing. That is something that we need more of. I have friends who absolutely love their weapons to death, and they refuse to switch off any weapons no matter what. But yes, we do have a lot of meta sheeps and people who are playing, you know, consistently good top weapons. And while yes, there is a meta, I'll touch on meta a little bit later, I agree with, you know, there's always going to be good weapons, but I feel like Splatoon 3's weapons, the game is very balanced where a lot of weapons are very close and we're not pushing a lot of weapons as far as they could possibly go. And I feel like if you're not playing a weapon that you actually love and enjoy, that also can impact your performance in the game. And that's something you should look at. If you're playing a weapon you don't like, pick a random weapon that you do like. Pick, I don't know, like maybe you play regular Bucket, but maybe you want Zipcaster, so play Bucket Deco. Maybe you really like GooTuber for some reason, play GooTuber. So like branch out, expand your horizons, and that will teach you more about the game with what that weapon will limit you to do and how you're going to play the game. And also, you know, add variety to the game and not just, oh well, I'm just going to play Splash for the 5,000th game today. So picking a different weapon is something that everyone should be doing. And also reviewing your games, you should always just review your games, because when you review your games, don't just look at your perspective, look at everyone else's perspective. Look at the people who are killing you, look at the backlines who are noticing you, like all those different things. Just view other perspectives and see, like even your teammates' perspective, view your teammates' perspective and be like, okay, am I impacting my teammate in a positive or negative way? Like how am I affecting my teammate? And if you notice that your teammates are struggling without you because you're off in some random part of the map in Narnia, then yeah, you should, you know, kind of focus on how can I improve with the randoms that I'm given. The next topic Gray touches on is team. Respect the opponent. Stop making excuses to not limit your progress. Have the same goals and game plan as your teammates, and be open-minded to suggestions. This is like a general thing. You should always be, you know, respectful of your opponents and respect what they can do, their skill level. You should always be open-minded to your teammates, because that's the whole part of being with your team and working in tandem with them. That's the synergy, that's the building, that's the bonding that you need. So like always having an open mind to your teammates, working out different strategies, doing the things that work and trying them. And if they don't work, they don't work. That's okay. You know, maybe you can learn something from it not working, or maybe it does work. And if you would have shot that idea down, that would have, you know, limited you and your teammates' progression. So honestly, as a team, you should just all be on the same page regardless. And I'll touch more a little bit on team stuff later, but you should definitely just be on the same page as your team. And the last thing that Gray touches on here is the community. Remove +3. There should be a +1 than everybody else. Minimize result culture. Use tournaments as a benchmark for improvement. Don't host too many tournaments on the same day. Limit skill level tournaments. Stop doing 4 modes in one tournament, 1 mode only. Now, this is also the part where people, you know, were like, oh, you know, the top players are, you know, in their own little private server, all that stuff, yada, yada, yada. Well, get good and you can be there and understand. That's kind of, you know, what I have to say on that. Or like, if you don't even care about being in there, just to get good and just start beating them. And everybody can get better. I already touched on that earlier. But the removing a +3 and there should be a +1. You know, I don't really have much authority to speak on that. Sure, remove +3 and +2 and just only have +1. Do that with what you will. Sure, remove it or don't remove it. I don't really think I have much to say on that. Minimize the result culture, however, I feel like is something that should be done, because there are people who get results on, you know, better players than them. Like, oh my God, I beat this person in a set, or I beat this person once. And it's just like, yeah, you did it once, but like you've never played against that person again, or maybe they were doing something weird. Maybe they were, you know, goofing around. I've seen people result teams in opens. They're like, oh my God, Cherry Limeade did like 4 GooTubers and I beat them in opens. I'm better than. No, you didn't. No, there's mean teams. People are mean teaming. You beat them when they're mean teaming. They're not even trying. If teams were trying, then, you know, you're just gonna body them. Like, you're going to get bodied if teams are trying. So result culture is just very silly to me, because while yes, you can get an upset on one team, that doesn't mean you're going to consistently beat them in the future. So yeah. Also, the tournaments for benchmarks, that is 100% the thing that people should be using. I feel like a lot of people avoid tournaments, or a lot of people have tournament nerves or whatever, and I totally get that. I'm one of them. Last year at Riptide, I almost got top 32, and my game 5, my hands were shaking, and of course, because my nerves got to me, I got 33rd. That's on me. I need to get my nerves better, but tournament nerves are a thing. However, like, people need to use tournaments more as benchmarks, and I will touch on the tournament stuff a little bit later as well and add more to that. But yeah, using tournaments as a benchmark is something everyone should be doing. Don't host too many tournaments in the same day. I feel like that's more on the TOs. And that would be, something that, all the TOs would probably have a Discord and get together and talk about it, because that just sounds like one big logistical thing. I know Sendo's doing some changes to the tournaments and stuff on the website to kind of limit people from spamming tournaments. However, at the end of the day, like, that's still something the TOs need to get together, because I host Barnacle Bash and I host it monthly, but I will say I really try to not host my tournament on a day where there's a lot of tournaments and around the same time as well. Like the last one I hosted, I put it at noon because other tournaments are being hosted at 1, so I didn't really want them to super overlap, so I moved it an hour earlier. There's other big tournaments that have happened when I host Barnacle Bash, so I try not to host it, when Lowing happens, or I think Fry Basket was happening one time as well, so I had to move it to a different weekend. So I'm like trying to do that to not have my tournament clash with other tournaments, so other tournaments can have viewership and people can play more tournaments and stuff like that. So it's just a logistical nightmare. That would be like a TO server would need to happen for that in the community. The one thing I do disagree with in the community statement is stop doing 4 modes in one tournament. Well, I do understand having one tournament, one mode type thing is good for the players because they don't have to worry about different modes and stuff like that. I think as a competitor, if you are going to prove that you are better than everyone, you have to be able to beat everyone on all 4 modes in a single tournament. That to me just shows that you are just better than everybody else. If you are able to, switch like that, I got to play tower, I got to play Rainmaker, clams, zones. If you're able to switch on like a dime like that and be able to have your comps, your team ready for each game mode and beat everybody, that to me shows me that you're better than everybody else. Because while yes, you can probably beat a team on tower or Rainmaker, maybe you're not beating them on clams and zones. So I think being able to beat everybody on all 4 modes in a tournament is something that shows that you are better than everybody else. So I don't really agree with that. There should be like the super major tournaments and the overtly big tournaments should have all 4 modes, but I can understand like smaller tournaments. Like I will say my tournament, Barnacle Bash, I do zones only, but also my tournament is a lot smaller. I only get like 12 to 16 teams. And while the players who play are amazing players, Gray plays in my tournament, like multiple Barnacle Bash winner. I got so many like people who show up for the tournament, great players who play my tournament. It's a smaller tournament, and I'm fine with zones only as well. I don't care that I'm doing a zones only, but something like a LAN or a super major tournament where there's like 30, 40, 50 teams and like a big tournament and everybody's really skilled, I think you have to beat everybody on all 4 modes to show yourself, especially Riptide too. I'm going to Riptide this year, and you should have to win on all 4 modes to be like, yeah, I won Riptide on all 4 modes. So that was Gray's document, and then I saw a tweet from Volty talking about mentality a little bit, and one of the tweets that they posted was, I also believe the lack of anger that losing brings to most players shows how much they don't give a crap about winning. I'm not talking about crash outs, but more like not leaving the VC 1 microsecond after losing, or just being like go next when you just got obliterated. Now, I see a lot of people kind of misinterpreting this, but basically what Volty is saying here is there's a lot of people who just have mentalities. When they lose, they don't care. They're just like, okay, go next, whatever. And I feel like a lot of people have that mentality. Like the losses are not driving them to want to win, to learn why they lost, to keep going and pushing themselves. And to me, that's like an issue because you're not trying to win. There's a lot of people who say they want to get better. They want to do this. They want to do that. But no one's getting mad about their losses. No one's like, I lost this bad. I need to get better. And I'm one of those people. If I lose, I'm like heated inside. Like, I don't take it out on my teammates. I don't, it's not everyone's, well, what can we do as a team to work better? Or if it's in solo queue, why did I lose so bad? Why couldn't I, hit my shots? Why couldn't I play objective better, paint better, all these different things? I get mad about that. And that's my drive to get better, because if I get better, I win. And a lot of people just don't have that. They're just like, okay, I lost, whatever. And some people have the mentality where, like, they'll play an SOS or whatever. They'll do an open level tournament, and let's say, they're like Div 6, Div 5. They play against, a Div 3, Div 2 team in SOS. They get absolutely washed, like they normally would. And instead of learning why they lost, they go, we lost, go next. It's like, no, learn from that. Learn from why you got obliterated, because that is valuable knowledge right there. Like, just because you lost to a team who is superior to you doesn't mean you can't learn why you lost to them. Look at the VOD, figure out what caused you to lose against that team, and maybe you may not beat that same team, but maybe you'll beat teams who are a little bit lower than them. You lost to a Div 2 team, maybe you'll beat a Div 4 team if you're like Div 6 or 5, and you learn from that and grow from that. And that's why I feel like there's a lot of like rifts in teams as well, because some people, they just want to win. They want to get better and win. And some people have the, I don't care, oh, we lost, whatever. There's no like dedication. They're not on the same page. And that's part of being a team as well, as everyone needs to be on the same page. Like, yes, I feel like everyone says they want to win. I want to win and get better. But some people just don't have the same drive or mentality when it comes to that. When someone says, I want to get better, that just means playing opens or solo queue for a little bit and going, all right, well, I did some stuff. I put in my 2 hours. While other people are like, I want to hit platinum or diamond or Leviathan in Sendo queue. I want to get top 500 next rank. I want us to hit gold bracket consistently. All these different things, these achievements. While some people just, they don't want to win as much. It's like the winning mentality just isn't there, and the drive just isn't there. So, when you lose, you got to want it. And I feel like a lot of people do just play to play. Some people have said that to me, where they're just like, yeah, a lot of teams just show up just to play. And that's fine. If you're in a team where you guys just want to play stuff and just compete just to have fun and, do it, that's cool. I'm not mitigating that whatsoever. That's great that you want to play and do that. But when you're on a team where like someone really wants to win, someone doesn't care if they win, there's someone who like kind of wants to win, but like that's when those teams just have like a big issues, because no one's on the same page. So yeah, like when you lose, figure out why you lost. Don't just say go next. Dissect it, figure it out, and learn from it. So I watched Jared's video as well, and Jared talks about a lot of things that really more pertain to top level players, like can't scrim JP teams because of time differences and stuff like that. And the only thing we really have is like JP X power and stuff like that, which, is fine. But they touch on like long match times and X power as well, which is an issue, and like the lack of community we have here. Like, the Western scene is small by comparison, and our top player and, top player group is also smaller by comparison compared to Japan. Splatoon is a lot bigger in Japan. But, like, I feel like just using a VPN and going to Japan isn't really the solution as well. I feel like probably fostering something in our X rank is good, because while telling people, oh, go play Japan, you have a lot of these lower level players just like, oh, I want to play in Japan because X rank in America sucks. And then they go to Japan and they still get washed. I've had Americans in my, like, I was like, I'm going to try JP X rank. I went there. I was getting Western players in my JP lobbies. And I'm like, well, I should have just stayed in North American X rank, like Western X rank. Why? And well, yes, you can learn a lot of valuable things because JP players are just, better than us because it's a lot more popular, a lot more people play. I feel like if you're not making any strong gains in Western X Power, just stick to the Western X Power. You're going to, still gain a lot from that. Like, it's perfectly fine in that regards. There is also Sendo queue as well, but unfortunately, if we're talking about match times, Sendo queue, you're waiting around for a minute. Like, last night, I played some Sendo queue just get my rank up and stuff, and I'm just like, all right, like it took us like 15 minutes to get into a game, whereas like, yeah, I have to wait maybe 2 minutes for an X rank game. Like, that's a significant amount of time. And while yes, I can sit there and play solo queue and stuff, I don't want to get into a Sendo game and make everyone wait for me because I'm in a solo queue game. That just feels a little bit disrespectful and wasteful of people's time, because it takes a while to get into a Sendo queue game. So those were just a lot of like talking points and stuff that I've seen from everybody else. Now, my thoughts and my own 2 cents on everything. I feel like everything that has been said is very valuable for people to get better. Like I said earlier, a lot of people are like, oh, top player says this. No, this is applicable to everybody. We need to have better mentalities when it comes to losing, when it comes to getting better. We need to have people who are willing to have drives to want to get better. And then when you try to tackle how to get better, picking different weapons, expanding weapon pools. That's one thing Jared said in his video is Japan has an expansive weapon pool. We need to expand our weapon pools more. Pick weapons that you want to play. That's something Gray said as well. Pick a weapon you want to play and push that weapon. Let's compare this to Smash Melee. Smash Melee has been around for 20 plus years, and we've seen low tiers reach high highs. You have AMSA, who has pushed Yoshi to win 3 majors in the same year. And people thought Yoshi was garbage, but AMSA did it. He pushed that. And we could see something like that with, GooTuber or, weapons that people think are bad. We could see someone push those weapons to higher heights. And in Melee as well, Donkey Kong is having a huge uprise right now. We have top Donkey Kong players right now. So that's something we can do here in Splatoon, but no one is pushing different weapons and different strategies. And that's the beauty about Splatoon, is Splatoon has that free flow style that Smash does, but instead you get to do it with 4 other people. So 4 people as a team, you can get really creative with different weapons, different comps, and play certain ways and have a fun time with the game while also beating people with something that you came up with, a flowchart that you and your team came up with for different weapons that break the meta. But also, it's just the mentality. I feel like the Western mentality is hindered because, while yes, we can do things to break the mold with weapons in the meta and stuff like that, there's still meta issues. I think Cooler, and I will preach this to the top, we do not need more buff specials. Honestly, if all TOs, we all agreed to come out tomorrow and say no more Cooler in any tournaments whatsoever, that would shake up the meta tremendously. We would see a lot more teams, vastly different weapon pools. There'd be so much more difference compared to running Cooler, because Cooler is still a must a majority of the time as you move up in divs and higher level play. Cooler's always a must, and that is the thing that is holding us back, is the fact that we need Cooler regardless. Even Japan's using Cooler. They're still using Cooler weapons, so it's like Cooler is the biggest thing holding this game back, and I pray in Splatoon 4 that there's no more buff specials, or if they do, they turn it into a sub. It's a sub buff special, and you can only use it on one person at a time. So with that all being said, I feel like everything has been said is a good blueprint, not for top players to get better, but for everyone to get better, for people to start climbing up, to get up there, change your mentality, figure out what you need to do to win, put in the effort that you want to, get out of what you want to watch your VODs, work on your fundamentals, figure out what doesn't work for you and fix it. Fix your playstyle around it. Maybe you're playing a weapon that doesn't fit your playstyle, switch to a different weapon. And also with that as well, a lot of people in the community really refuse to play with people who play these very off-brandish weapons. I'm not one of those people. I've played with Explos, I've played with Dynamos, I've played with very off-meta weapons that people aren't using, or weapons that are hard to work with, because that to me is the most interesting part about Splatoon, is playing with these weapons and trying to get them to work. While yes, there is a meta, there's other weapons that can definitely thrive in situations that you may not expect. And that's something that a lot of people just don't have. They just go, oh, I don't want to play with that. And you see just, oh, I want a backline. And people are still asking for Pen and Head It. And no one's asking for the new Long Rapid or new Gal. I'm playing the new Gal as Cooler right now. That slaps. That's good. And I know the meta still has been shifting. We're still working on things with the new weapons. So, the Cooler stuff can, be switched up. But people are just like, oh, I need Slayers. I need this. I need that. But when someone comes out with a weapon, a Slayer weapon or a supportive weapon or stuff like that, people are like, oh, no, I don't want that. I specifically want a bucket, sword, or a blaster. And I want a splash or shot. And it's just like, get other weapons. Have an H3 on there. Have an L3 on there. Stuff like that. Play Splattershot Nova. I hate Nova with all of my being, but put a Nova on there. Get different weapons out there, and people need to stop being so apprehensive of going, oh, I don't want to play with that because it's not meta. So those are my thoughts. I definitely feel like us as a Western community can, come together, work together, and get better as a community. We just need the mentality to switch. I feel like that is the biggest thing, is the mentality. I know we all have lives, we got jobs and stuff like that. That's cool. If you don't want to dedicate yourself to the game, that's fine. I'm not taking away from any of that, because people do have lives. I got school, work, I play other games. I got so much going on in my life that, I dedicate as much as I can to Splatoon, but I don't expect myself to hit Div 1, Div X anytime soon. Like, the most I can expect out of myself is like a Div 4 and just moving up a little bit. But besides that, the mentality needs to change if we're going to get better as a community, not just for top players, but for everybody else. Working on yourself, on your individuality, coming together as a community, working together with a team, and all of us putting ourselves out there, being more open-minded and working together. And I feel like that is what will bring us closer to closing the gap between Japan and the West, is the change in mentality. Because while there are hard-working players, I feel like a lot of hard-working players are dragged down because there's not a lot that we're doing as a community to bring those hardworking players up, or more people just need to work harder. So mentality is the biggest thing holding us back. Once we change that, we can close the gap a little bit easier. But those are just my thoughts and everything that I've been reading lately over this past weekend. Let me know what you think down below. I will see you in the next one. Take care. Peace.